Looking for something fun and unique in Evergreen Park? You should try Unidad, a Latin kitchen and bar. Unidad brings together family homemade recipes and craft cocktails to create a one-of-a-kind eating experience. Plus, every Friday, enjoy happy hour specials from 3:30 to 6 p.m. And Unidad is currently open for dinner on Sundays with half-price bottles of wine for a limited time. Unidad, a Latin kitchen and bar located at 3339 West 95th Street in the heart of Evergreen Park. Learn more at unidadrestaurant.com. Psst. Hey, before we start the show, as if you didn't have enough reasons to go check out Unidad, they're doing Carnival this week. That's right, all the way through the 9th. Happy hour specials with Brazilian beer, their national cocktail, and some popular foods. And then after that, they pivot and they bring out the corned beef tacos, the Irish beers and whiskeys to get you ready for St. Patrick's Day. Now that is yet another reason to go to Unidad. But before this show starts, I have another reason for you to listen to the EP podcast this week. At some point in the next 30 minutes, you're going to hear a Catholic priest at my bar doing drinking games with myself and Hannah. You can't turn it off now, can you? No, you can't.
The EP podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found. And always at theeppodcast.com.
And it's going to be a fun show today.
Yes, it is.
Really?
It's going to be a fun show.
And it gets even wilder, you know?
Father Paul is here from the Me and the Priest podcast. Father Paul Guzman is actually a priest at Most Holy Redeemer here in Evergreen Park. He is a Navy chaplain. He is a former U.S. Marshal. He's been a 911 dispatcher. Me and him have both done that in our lives. He's been an RN. Basically...
Still an RN.
Yeah, you're still an RN.
Still an RN.
You're still technically an RN.
Yeah. When I was over in Syria, I helped out in the medical tent. It's like, when you need me,
You just go in there and start doing triage.
It's like I can take you apart, put you back together, and send you off to your eternal reward all at one stop.
Give them the blessing on the way out the door. I like it.
It's like you're done. I'm done, you're done. Go on.
The blessing on the way out the door.
You know, this is kind of like, this is what the original version of what I thought the EP podcast would be, where we're just all sitting around having a couple of beers.
Right.
And we're recording. And it kind of turned into that tonight before we even started recording.
Get all
tonight.
wily
So
and
should be kind of a
Whammy.
fun half hour on the show. Should be a fun half hour. I wanted to give Father Paul, because he just came in earlier before you showed up, Hannah, and recorded the Me and the Priest podcast.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that we talked about him just a little bit, because the show is very interesting. Now, it's a new show that comes out of the broadcast basement. That's what we call my basement. So the broadcast basement does multiple podcasts, and one of them is Me and the Priest. And he has been very interesting over the last couple of shows. Like when we originally started, he was in Syria. So it was very hard for me to talk with him because we're doing it on Skype. It's getting bounced off of multiple satellites. It would cut out. It would cut in. We were in the middle of one time of an episode recording, and they lost power to the base because of an attack for like 3 days. And like people are like, "Where's your show?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know if he's alive or dead." I was in the middle of talking to him, but you heard like a hum of like something happening, and he was gone. And I can't raise him on an email or anything. He's gone. So I mean, like it was like one of those. So now I'm glad he's back and he's safe. But we've been doing this show. So far we've learned that he's Batman.
Yes.
You'd have to listen
Batman.
you'd have to listen to the show to find that out. But we talked about Catholic confessionals and what would happen if he found out that somebody was like a murderer or something like that, because they can't talk about what happens in the confessional. It turns out Father Paul is Batman. So you should tune in just for that episode, okay? That's 100% worth listening to, okay? The episode that is coming out on Tuesday this week, depending on when you're listening to the EP podcast, because we come out on Monday, the episode that's coming out on Tuesday this week, Lent is about to kick off, so it's time for all of your double Filet-O-Fish meals at McDonald's. And everybody capitalizing on the fact that the Catholics have to have just fish. They can't have meat on the Fridays. So we talked a little bit about it. It turned into an entire discussion on beer and why stouts are actually not only something that's like comes from Lent essentially, but it's a food group. So a stout comes from, basically it has a connection to Lent and it's a food group, right? That's what we discussed. It was something close to that.
Yeah.
I know I'm paraphrasing.
It's a monastic tradition.
Right, exactly. So this show is not just like, this show is hysterical. Yeah, you didn't become a priest until when? You were like 55 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So, I mean, before that, he was just running around shooting people.
Well, I locked them up first.
Yeah, you lock them up and then you shoot them?
Well, whatever.
You're the worst U.S. Marshal ever.
Come on.
And he would stitch them back together.
This is why you had to become a priest, because if you did that nowadays, you'd be on Twitter for sure.
Or in prison, I don't know.
Now time for the EP podcast Word on the Street. Let's see what's going on in Evergreen Park. This week, Whole Foods comes to Evergreen Park. It opens in the plaza March 6th. And you're like, why does this matter to me? Well, if you go shopping there on the first day that they're open on March 6th, 1% goes to Evergreen Park High School. So if you're looking for food and you want it to be whole, March 6th. We have dueling trivia nights coming up here in March. First, on Saturday, the 23rd of March, Most Holy Redeemer is hosting their trivia night. Then a week later, on the 30th, St. Bernadette's doing one in O'Brien Hall. Now, I don't have all the Bernadette details yet, but I know it's $4.50 a table for the Redeemer one on the 23rd. And that includes bottled beer, wine, water till 11 p.m. Oh, and you get a complimentary pizza for your table. So think about it, it's like $45 a person. You can go to mhrschool.com for more details. And a little reminder from the Office of Citizen Services for residents that are seniors. Senior luncheons, day trips, Meals on Wheels, mini bus service. If you are a senior, or you know a senior that may need something, 708-422-8776. We roll on the EP Podcast, found everywhere podcasts can be found and always at theeppodcast.com. All right, so a couple of weeks ago, right before the Oscars, my good friend and Hollywood Insider Ben Belton, who rubs elbows with the stars out in L.A., he got on the air and he gave you all of the picks for the Oscars. And Ben, you were pretty good. We both had Regina King. She won. You had Mahershala Ali. He won. I lost. You had Rami Malek. He won, and I lost. You did not have Olivia Colman, but neither did I. That was an absolute upset. You had the director for Roma. He won. I had Spike Lee. He did not win for the best director. And then, right at the end, Ben, totally redeemed, my Best Picture Green Book won. Does it hurt you to know that somebody who is so out of touch with Hollywood picked the Best Picture and you didn't?
I feel like I let the people down a little bit because, I feel I was hopefully help some of the people that are listening, maybe win some of their pools and things like that. But no, it was an absolute surprise. And I think really what it gets into is that the year of films was a kind of a slower year. The films overall, the slate wasn't as good. And you had campaigns for Black Panther and Roma that were huge in Hollywood. And all the insiders are, of course, telling me that I work with, like, oh, Roma's a shoe-in for this. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is a done deal. And so that's where my prediction came from. But yeah, I definitely had to eat my words, that's for sure.
As soon as it happened, like right before they got up there to announce it, and I didn't watch most of the Oscars. I got there in time for the Lady Gaga, Bradley Cooper thing. And while it was happening, I looked at my wife and I'm like, you think they're sleeping together? And I noticed she's dispelled that, but that was literally what I said in the middle of the song. So we get to the end and they open up the envelope for Best Picture. Right before they say it, I go, Green Book. And they said Green Book. She goes, how did that happen? And I did the whole thing. I stood up from the couch. I threw my arms out in the air like I was just the smartest man in the world, dropped to my knees. I am like, I am a genius and Ben sucks. I declared it. I woke up one of my three children yelling it to the ceiling.
It was a surprise, but I love Green Book as a movie, so I was happy that it happened, but it killed all my pools that I did. So
yeah, made me look really smart though, Ben. Much smarter than you. Okay, so
you did good.
What is going on? Give me a Hollywood tidbit before we let you go. Anything on Captain Marvel as it's about to release?
Captain Marvel is doing incredible. Basically, already they're predicting that the numbers are going to be similar in China to Captain America, and they're expecting just a huge overhaul for the film. So be looking for that. Be looking for that, obviously, to probably make history for March.
The Avengers Endgame. I mean, is it coming out like a month after Captain Marvel because it's so tied in that they're like waiting would just be silly?
That's correct. So one of the things that's supposedly going to come into the next phase of Marvel is this idea of Skrulls, these characters that are essentially these evil beings that are disguised as like good guys, and they kind of hide out in the planet. And the Skrulls are addressed more so in Captain Marvel, and supposedly that's going to be a theme that stretches into the next couple movies that come through with Marvel. So I think you're going to see that, and I think they're going to start to build on that story. And supposedly the end scenes or the end credit scenes supposedly will set you up for what's going to happen in the weeks ahead, at the end of April with the Avengers Endgame premiere.
Excellent. Final one. Star Wars Episode 9. Is J.J. Abrams going to fix Star Wars?
Well, the word now is that George Lucas is actually being brought in to fix some of the problems that are allegedly going on behind the scenes. So at this point, it's kind of, it's hard to guess. Now, one of the things that's interesting is that we haven't seen as much of the publicity on the project, and it's coming later this year as far as a trailer and things like that. We've only seen little, pictures and snippets and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. But like I said, hopefully it turns out to be good.
What is George Lucas doing? Is he going and fixing everything or fixing the Episode 9? Is he like trying to help out with the whole universe?
Well, allegedly he's working on the character Luke. Obviously there was a continuity issue or a change that happened with the last episode.
Yeah, that they started making stuff up. Yeah, they just started making stuff up.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think what they're trying to do is fix whatever happened before or make it work better with whatever the storyline is for the upcoming film.
All right.
With respect to that character specifically.
I sit down with you sometimes and I learn something I can't even find on the internet because I've been looking up Star Wars Episode 9 and I had no idea that was going on. So this is why I have you on. I love that you stopped by. I look forward to the day where you surprise me with an actual Hollywood person. Like you're just like, oh, by the way, Amy Adams is next to me. That's what I want from you next, Ben. Okay? Just something like that. I'll take a B-level guy. Find me somebody who's just like that guy that was in the such and such movies next to me. Just, surprise me next time.
Would you settle for Urkel?
I would totally take
somebody like that.
I would take Jaleel White right now. Is he in your closet?
Okay.
Do you have him locked in there?
See, I don't.
Is he your neighbor?
There are some people that are on that level that I might be able to get for you.
Awesome.
So we'll see.
All right, bud. Thanks a lot.
You got it.
It's the middle of the show song. 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 Chris had nothing to put here, so he put this song. It's the middle of the show song.
Hannah, there's a lot going on at the EP library.
There's always something going on at the
they always have
library.
stuff like they have watercolor salt painting.
Wait,
for
watercolor
teens
salt
and
painting?
tweens. I don't even know what that is. That's happening
Salt
on this
painting.
Friday. Salt painting.
That's interesting.
I don't. Is it interesting?
I think it is.
I'm not sure if it is. And then they have a lot of different things going on. Like next Tuesday, they're doing The Island of Sea Women. It's a best-selling author, Lisa C. I know, isn't that funny?
Island of
will
Sea
share
Women.
stories of her research on the Korean island of Jeju. This seems made up. The setting of her latest book, while we enjoy Korean tea and refreshments. This is inside of the newsletter. Now, the most important things that are going on at the EP library are two big things. First of all, the EP podcast will be at the library on Wednesday, March 13th. That is next Wednesday. That's a week from the Wednesday that's coming up here. I will be there. I'm going to read it again for you because I enjoy reading things with my name in it. Chris Lanuti, the host of the EP podcast, will talk about the fastest growing media medium in the world, which you think is funny.
That's terrible.
Because media and medium are the same thing. And I can't remember.
Media is plural for medium.
I may have sent them that copy, so that could be my fault.
Christopher.
I don't know. They asked me for something, and I rattled it off, and I may have been drinking. Learn the many ways to enjoy podcasts and how to produce your own podcast. So basically, I'm going to teach people not only about how to listen to a podcast, it's for the people that don't listen to the EP podcast, But if you do listen to the EP podcast, you already know how to do it. But if you're interested in other podcasts, what's available in the world of podcasting, how to do your own podcast and how easy it is, you want to come to the library Wednesday, March 13th at 6:30 p.m. I will be there, and I'll bring some swag. EP podcast stuff.
You know, the good thing about podcasting is, like you had an idea, like, I want to make a show about Evergreen Park. You don't have to pitch it to anybody.
No, you can't do that
ups.
because I have that show.
Well, I'm saying, for instance,
do a show about Evergreen Park.
But you don't.
I have that show. If you start a show about Evergreen Park as my competition, I will crush you.
What I was saying.
that too harsh?
No.
Okay.
But the good thing about, you have an idea, you don't have to run it through any higher ups. You don't have to
you can
get
do whatever you
funding
want.
for it. You do whatever you want. That's the great thing about podcasting. It's Americanism, I guess.
Americanism?
Americanism.
Really?
Americanism.
Wow. The other big thing that we're going to be doing is in April, I am a living book.
That's going to be interesting. I want to hear what you tell. Like, what's going to come from your storybook?
I am going to be in the Living Library on Sunday, April 7th at 1 p.m. Now, they are still looking for books. So if you think your life is interesting, then you should tell the library about it. You can actually go online at evergreenparklibrary.org and be a part of it. Now, I talked to some of the people at the library, and this is how this came about. They had people that were from different backgrounds, that had unique situations in their lives, that wanted to do forums on it. And they got the idea of, why don't we just have an entire library of living books? So you might have somebody who has lived a life that is very different from what would be considered the average life. And they're going to be there telling their story about how they live their life or what their home life is like or anything like that. They asked me if I wanted to do it. My biggest thing, though, is trying to figure out what I'm going to do, Hannah. And that's what I need your help with today.
What are you going to do? Because you're full
You don't think
of
I'm
stories.
interesting?
No, you're full of stories. What are you going to narrow
That's
it
the problem.
down
I don't
to?
know what I want to narrow it down to.
To your radio days, to your 911 days, to your family?
Well, here's the thing. What should my book be about? I was a dispatcher for 10 years in 911. So that's interesting right away. I did morning radio for 10 years. That's interesting.
Yes.
Right? You see what I'm saying? When I was at St. Denis School, I got beat up every week. That's interesting. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different things.
The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found. And always at the eppodcast.com.
Father Paul is back in here hanging with us, and we have to address it because it was a big deal here in Evergreen Park this week. I got a blue ribbon that got tied up in front of my house. There was a poor little boy who was like in the 6th grade who passed, and this is one of those things that rocks a community. I've heard stories about what happened. I'm not going to say his name because he's a juvenile, and out of respect for the family, I never want anybody to think that I'm using this story for any other means except for the fact that I was touched after hearing about it. But what I've heard is that, because I know somebody who's got a kid over at Central who witnessed what happened. He was just walking down the hallway with his friends, and he had a heart condition, and that was it. He just all of a sudden collapsed into his friend's arm, and that was the end of it. And they tried CPR, and it didn't work. And that had to be rough for the kids to watch. I'm sure that is I couldn't even imagine. I got 3 kids. I got a 7th, a 5th, and a preschooler. And like that, there were the blue ribbons all up and down. I thought the village did a great job with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, again, that's a reason why Evergreen Park is different than just a neighborhood in Chicago or even other suburbs. They recognized this happened to a kid in their town, and there are multiple schools in this town. And not only were there ribbons all along, but Redeemer went and they had their kids go out. You're the priest over Redeemer.
Yep.
They had their kids go out, and their students went and put ribbons around for a kid that doesn't even go to their school.
Right.
And I am impressed every time that the village itself has to come together or something bad happens, how it doesn't matter what part of the village you're from, where you live in the village, what school you send your kids to, or anything else like that. Everybody recognized this was happening. Like, we changed the lights in front of our house on 99th Street to blue for the night going into it and the night leaving Friday. Like, we did that because it was going to be wear blue on Friday. We changed the lights in front of our house. We weren't the only family that did that. Like, if you had a way to adjust the lights that were hitting your house, people changed that just for that child. And I've never met him. I've never met him. I've never met the parents. I don't, but I felt bad for them, and I thought that was incredible. You have to deal with terrible things all the time, right? I mean, like that's just something you're a Navy chaplain. You deal with all that stuff like that. What kind of advice? How do you talk to people when something like that happens? How do you explain that even to kids? Because kids are probably the biggest thing when that happens. Like they don't understand this. Like my son was like he's about the same age, and he's like this. Like he's looking at me like that can happen to me, because kids don't even realize that something bad can happen to them. You know.
Well, the first thing is you don't talk. You listen.
Right.
That's what you want to do, and you know that's what you do as a nurse. That's what you do as a policeman. That's what you do as a priest. Let me listen. How has this affected you? And then let me help you walk through this. And that's what I'm going to be doing. You know, how is this affecting you? And it's going to affect everybody differently. And I need to know that before I can even open my mouth. So first thing I'm going to do is listen.
Because you've got kids that probably play baseball with this kid.
Oh, I'm sure.
That are in your school
I'm
that
sure.
you're at.
I'm sure.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would think that at some point you might get approached by
Exactly.
a kid that knew this child.
Yeah, exactly. And the first thing is, they're going to say is, like you said, how could this happen?
Right.
And my response would be, I don't know. It's up to God. And I'm not God. And I can't answer for him. All I can say is that this happened, and this is what my faith says we have to do right now. I'm going to walk with you through this pain and this sorrow, and we'll try to make the best of it that we can. But I don't know. But all I do know is that this is in God's plan, and it's for the best. And let's work with it from there.
Right. Well, you're probably going to have to do some work.
Oh, I'm
here
sure.
Next week.
I'm sure.
It's going to happen. You're going to have to do some work this week.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable knowing that there's guys like you that are out there that are ready to talk to these kids.
Well, you got to remember, Evergreen Park is a village of churches, right? It's not just us. We have churches all over, and we're here for our people. And Evergreen Park, we're tight, and I'm glad to be in Evergreen Park. Don't be afraid to call us.
Yeah, if you need something, you want to talk to somebody, especially about this, Father Paul is up at Most Holy Redeemer. See, I just gave you business.
Well, that's fine. That's what we're here for. They're my sheep. They're my sheep.
I want a commission on that.
Oh, okay. Well,
right.
I'll send you some sheep.
Well, I was in Lanuti's basement one Friday night. I'll have another beer. I might spend the night if I have another one. Another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Too many shots, it's getting late. Too many shots, it's getting late.
And Father Paul's still hanging out here.
Yes,
and
he is.
He's telling us about.
Up.
No,
He's telling about it. He's telling about his drinking games that he used to do when he was younger.
This just blew my mind.
You can't walk out of here without. So get close to the microphone,
all right.
because you sit back too far for the mic. So
All right. Well,
talk into the microphone. Okay.
Well, I don't have a beer now.
Well, do you want a beer?
No.
Come on, one more beer.
You just did it.
No. All right. Well,
All right.
it was a drinking
What's
game.
a
when we were in
Father
college.
Paul drinking game, and maybe Hannah and I could see who would lose.
And our host.
This is a good way to end this show.
And our host talked about sitting around the dorm strumming a guitar and having a good time. And I said, well, we used to have a drinking game, and someone would strum a guitar, and it was the type of drinking game where there was a series of things that you had to remember and say perfectly. Otherwise, you would have to chug your beer. And it went like this, and we go around in a circle. And it started out 1 red hen, and then it was 1 red hen and a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, 5 fat females, 6 simple Simons sitting on a stump, 7 Sicilian sailors sailing the 7 seas, 8 egotistical egotists echoing egotistical ecstasies, 9 nude Nubians nibbling on nuts, nougats, and nicotine. And then finally, for number 10, it was, I'm not a fig plucker nor a fig plucker's son, but I'll pluck figs till the fig plucker comes. Now, try
That's got to be
saying
tough
that.
to say when you're drunk.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. So there were a lot of people chugging a lot of beer.
Well, we're recording this.
I
right,
can't,
so
I
I want to
can't say
see.
that sober.
I want to see between me
I
and
can say one of
Hannah.
them. I can say the
So how does
the
this work?
hens
Do
and
you
the fat
say it and then I
females.
have to repeat it?
Yes, you repeat it. And we go
Okay.
around, and the first guy says,
All right. So I want to do this.
yes.
I want to
Okay.
do this between me and Hannah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you lead it.
And we start 1 red hen.
So does she go?
One
Yeah.
red hen.
Okay. One red hen.
One red hen and a couple of ducks.
One red hen and a couple of ducks.
One red hen and a couple of ducks.
One red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears.
One red hen, a couple of ducks, and 3 brown bears.
One red hen, a couple of ducks, and 3 brown bears.
One red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares. Chug it, chug it, chug it, chug it. Right now, she would be drinking that beer to the dregs.
Chris, you won.
One red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, and 4
running
hares.
Four running hares.
Shoot, now I got to drink.
Yeah, you got to drink. You got to chug it, dude.
I got to chug the whole thing?
The whole thing.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, that's why it was dangerous and deadly.
She didn't chug, she just took a drink out of her wine.
You're all worthless and
you
weak.
expect us to actually chug this a podcast?
Are you playing the game or are you not?
It's theater of the mind, for crying out loud.
say no to
said
a
you want to
priest.
play
I'm
the
supposed to
game.
just pretend I'm chugging. You're the worst priest ever.
All right, well, you started it.
I'm going to go to church tomorrow. Your boss is going to be like, why do you look so hungover? Because I was drinking with your priest.
with your associate.
Your buddy.
He's evil.
Yeah.
8 egotistical egotists
That's
saying
it. It's
egotistical
8.
things.
Echoing, egotistical.
Drink.
Yeah, drink. So drink, chug-a-lug, drink, chug-a-lug, drink, chug-a-lug.
Echoing.
We haven't even gotten to 8 yet. Why are you there? We haven't even gotten to 5.
We haven't.
Okay, do we get to 5 yet? Are we starting over?
All right,
what are we doing? Are we done?
Yeah, well, let's get up to 5.
Try it again. Let's try it one more time. Okay, we'll try it one more time.
1 red hen and a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, 5 fat females.
1 red hen, 2 brown ducks.
Wow.
Oh, chug it again.
Couple of ducks.
Do you see how you can get hurt with this game?
I got it. Here we go.
Here we go, Chris.
Here we go. 1 red hen, a couple of ducks,
This is a family pot.
3 brown bears, 4 red hares.
4 running hares.
Starting with an R?
Yeah.
5 fat females.
Yeah, that's 5. You have 4 running hares, 5 fat females.
You said 4 red hairs.
Yeah, you said 4 red hares.
I
We
don't
don't have
remember
4
that.
red hares.
I don't
We have
remember
4 running hares.
What if they're red too?
Well, that
What if they're
doesn't
red
count.
and they're running?
Well, I didn't care what
Can you
color they
prove
were.
that they're not red?
Yes, I can. I
I'm gonna
saw
go
them.
on Twitter and be
I
like,
saw them. They were.
you got a thing about red hairs and running.
Yeah, well, no, you did. I said they
Hashtag
were.
you're making this up.
You heard it
How does
first.
he remember all that?
How does he remember?
Because I went through this drinking game for years.
This is
and I
crazy.
lost many a time.
Drinking games with Father Paul is going to have to be a brand new thing on the EP podcast.
we should start the podcast out with this.
Okay, can we try this one more
All right.
time? I just want to see
I'm
how
Can we
far
go
we
all the way to
You're better than
10?
me.
Well, there's no way we're getting to 10.
All
but
right, well, let's go as far as
You
we
know
can.
what?
Okay.
Erica's going to sub in for me because she's
my
remembering
wife
a
is
lot
gonna
better.
come in
Yes.
here?
Oh, yeah. And you notice she's only got less than a swallow of wine. So if she has to chug, it ain't hurting
Here
anything.
comes my wife, Erica. She's
All right.
subbing in for Hannah.
Here we
Okay.
go. We're starting from the beginning.
Starting from the beginning.
Are we ready?
I've done it 6 times and screwed
All right.
up, so this is
right.
going to be embarrassing. Go ahead.
1 red hen.
1 red hen.
1 red hen.
1 red hen and a couple of ducks.
1 red hen and a couple of ducks.
1 red hen and a couple of ducks.
1 red hen and a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears.
1 red hen and a couple of ducks and 3 brown bears.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, and 3 brown bears.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares. Chug it! We have not
Go on,
gotten
give her a
past
chance, give her a
4.
chance.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, and 4 running hares.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, 5 fat females.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, and 5 fat females.
It's offensive to fat females. 1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, and 5 fat females who are still beautiful.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, 5 fat females. 6 simple Simons sitting on a stump.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, 5 fat females, and a simple Simon.
I got it. Here we go.
All right.
1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, 5 fat females, 6 simple Simons sitting on a stump.
1 red hen.
Boom!
Hoorah! 1 red hen, a couple of ducks, 3 brown bears, 4 running hares, 5 fat females. 6 simple Simons sitting on a stump. 7 Sicilian sailors sailing the 7 seas.
Good luck, Erica. Get ready to chug.
2 ducks.
2 ducks. It's over. It's not even. That's it. Have a good week. The EP Podcast. We're going to have him back for drinking games again. Found everywhere podcasts can be found and always at the eppodcast.com. Drink.
Another show is wrapped up. Another show's in the books. Another show is wrapped up. And then by the looks, it's going to be a good one. And we'll see you next week. And the nudist basement. And the nudist basement. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. And it's in the books. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. And by the looks, it's gonna be a good one. Nudist basement. Broadcast basement. The nudist basement. The broad basement. Slancha. That was like Dropkick Murphys or something, right? I felt like it.
Are you or someone you know looking to learn how to play a musical instrument this year? Then you should be checking out Westgate Music School, 6527 West 127th Street in Palos Heights. Private music lessons for all instruments, including guitar, piano, drums, voice, bass guitar, violin, banjo, ukulele, and more. Are you a vocalist? Are you ready to play a musical instrument and looking to join a group? Westgate Music School offers group classes for rock band, a cappella vocal, and barbershop quartet. Students of all ages and ability levels will have the opportunity to perform 3 times a year in a student concert. Gift certificates for Westgate are also available. More information, call 708-586-7002 or go to westgatemusicschool.com.
The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always at the eppodcast.com.